Welcome back to the shop, everyone. This week's video is a 4-week-in one. We got weeks 30, 31, 32, 33 from July 22nd all the way up to August 18th. And the reason for that is with the car on the road, I haven't been doing too much work to it, so there's really not been that much to record. But we are kicking this off with installing a rear view mirror. In the last video, when I went on that trip up to Canadian Tire, I picked up the mirror install kit. So just following the instructions, getting the I think it's called the shoe adhered to the window, and then we're just going to install this mirror. And then after that, we are just going to take it out for a drive and test that mirror. So on this test drive, I am using my phone to double check the speed. I just want to make sure that my actual speedometer is measuring the speed accurately. And yeah, after this trip, the speedometer is a little bit slow to update, but if you're just cruising along, it seems to be like dead accurate. So I'm very happy with that. We're going to get onto the highway. We're going to get up a little bit in speed, not too much, but we're just going to accelerate quick. Yeah, I just did a quick little cruise, make sure the mirror's good, make sure the speedo's good, everything worked just fine. Alright, so now we are off to one of my favorite places, Seawings Express in up near the airport in Victoria. And so I use these guys for getting all of my packages across the border. Because I'm in Canada, I got to pay import fees and taxes and duties on all of the parcels. Typically, if I were to use UPS or FedEx or Purelator, any of those guys, they charge a shit ton of money to do that for you if they're to drop it off at your door. It's just not worth it. It's almost extortion for the amount of work that they're doing. It is absolutely insane the amount of money these guys charge. So I found out about Seawings, some years back, 3-4 years ago, and I've been using them for a ton of stuff. So I mean, the process is I drive up to the airport, I go talk to the awesome people in Seawings, and I say, hey, this is my name, I'm here to grab some packages. I grab the waybill or whatever it is. They give me some paperwork. I walk over into the airport. I go talk to the CBSA officers in the CBSA office. I say, hey, I'm looking to clear these packages. I show all the receipts for, what I'm buying, and then they will determine how much tax I'm paying. I pay the tax, and that's it. I walk back over to Seawings. I pay them their fee for bringing stuff up from the US for me, which is quite reasonable. And all in all, I save myself a shit ton of money by not using one of these big shipping companies who just absolutely bend you over. So, yeah, just drive up there, grab my stuff, and then drive home. right, so now it's time to open up the packages that we just picked up from Seawings. So in the first box, we got a package from Summit Racing. I grabbed some more brake fluid because I was low, and I always like having a few spares, so we'll just throw those on the shelf right away. And then the next thing I picked up was some new small wrenches because I want to be able to make sure I can tighten down these header bolts. Getting a socket in there is quite challenging for some of them, so I just picked up a stubby set of wrenches. It was the only one that had like 3/8 up to an inch, and I want the inch for the rear suspension. But mainly what I ordered all this stuff was for this oil fill cap and this AN bung. So if you remember from a long time ago, I drained the oil after I dropped a nut down the distributor hole. So dropped the oil pan, cleaned all the oil out, and then I had to fill the engine back up with oil. So I had to take off the AN fitting for the catch can on this side, which is that black fitting that's attached to the valve cover. I'm taking the valve cover off right now. So I just took the fitting off, and then I had to fill the engine through that tiny little -10 AN hole there. So it's a 5/8 hole, super small. You know, you got to get a funnel on there. And I don't know, it took me like 20 minutes or 30 minutes just to put oil in the engine. If I was smart, I would have just pulled the valve cover off like I just did and then just dumped it in there. But I'm not that bright. So what I'm doing now is I am going to cut off that old bung that I had welded on the valve cover. I'm going to take that aluminum oil fill cap, weld that onto the valve cover, and then I'm going to drill a hole straight through the top of the cap, and I'm going to weld on a new -10 aluminum AN bung, and then that's what the breather fitting will attach to, is that new bung. So that way I actually have a proper like 1.5-2 inch hole for putting oil into the engine. So since this is a fresh rebuild, I was just running a magnet along all of the oil in the head just to see if there were any metal bits or anything like that. Came out clean. I'm happy with it. So just cover it because I don't want anything falling down in the engine, and we will get to work on this. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a carbide burr, which I don't have any aluminum carbide burrs at this point, so a steel one, and I'm just going to, you know, very aggressively cut all of that weld off of that bung, and then I will end up drilling the hole out with a stepper bit, and then I'm going to take a hole saw that corresponds with the hole I drilled with the stepper bit, and a bigger hole saw to get to the proper size for welding in that oil fill cap, and then we are just going to weld it all together. I do really hate using carbide bits because, man, it just sends like chunks of metal flying absolutely everywhere. But in this case, it's the best tool for the job, so we're going to use it. yeah, this trick that I learned with the hole saw. If you've already cut a hole in something and you want to hole saw it out, but you need a bigger hole, what you can do is open it up to a size where a smaller hole saw can fit in it, and then you can put 2 of the hole saw bits on a single, I don't even know what that's called, but the little chuck piece that goes in the drill, and then you can use the smaller hole saw as the centering hole for the bigger one, so you can get a fairly clean cut into whatever you're needing to make that bigger hole on. So after that, just deburr it all, and then I'm going to crank out the welder and get this all welded up. So as I mentioned, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drill a hole straight down through the top of that cap, and then I will weld the dash 10A and bung onto it. And of course, time to do a little bit of cleanup while that's all cooling down. Of course, installation is the opposite of removal. So throw the valve cover on, put all the bolts in, I'll torque all the bolts down, and that's that. And just like that, we are back together on that side. Now, I am taking the passenger side off, and the reason being is when I fire up the car, there is a loud ticking. So I just want to check the valve train and make sure that it's all good. And since then, I'm 99.9% confident it's just a massive exhaust leak on the driver's side. The driver's side is the side where I had to cut the header apart to move all the pipes around to clear the steering. And I'm willing to bet that in that I left a big gaping hole. So this winter, when the car comes off the road, I'll get that fixed. But I refreshed this engine. It's the first engine I ever refreshed / built. So just pulling the valve cover off and checking the whole valve train isn't hurting anything, and it's not a horrible idea. Also, when I build a new engine for this, I'm contemplating going with a solid roller, which would mean I would have to adjust valve lash periodically, or at least check it, which means I'd have to pull the valve covers off. So, just checking to see how easy that is isn't a bad thing. just checking a couple things now that it's all back together and kind of cleaning it up a little bit. Next thing that I got from Summit is a new O2 sensor. I don't know if you recall, but the left O2, which lives on technically in the passenger side pipe, is where the wire comes down, but it's going to the driver's side at the moment. It's really erratic. So because of that, it seems like I have a bad O2, but after realizing now that I have a big massive exhaust leak, that's what the ticking noise was. I thought that was engine. It makes sense that O2 is erratic, but I didn't find that out until after I replaced the O2 sensor. So whatever, I'm just going to jack the car up, replace this O2 sensor, and we are going to see if that fixes it, which it doesn't because I got a big exhaust leak. So a lot of this I didn't get a good camera angle, and I actually didn't really record much, but end of the day, what I got to do is I need to chop off the stock connector from the O2 sensor, repin it with Deutsch pins, and then just move it over to the original connector. So yeah, as I said, I didn't get a lot of that, but yeah, so right now I'm just checking the computer, make sure everything's happy. All right, so here I am actually doing the cutting and repinning of the O2 sensor. And what I'm doing right now is these Holley O2 sensors have a little special section on it, and I'm just kind of checking out to see what it is. And as it turns out, it's just a very specific resistor for this O2 sensor, but I chop it all open and just kind of check it out just because I was curious. So yeah, we're just going to reconnect everything, throw a couple zip ties on it, plug it back in. I'm just going to really quickly check the car and just kind of see if that O2 sensor is working. And lo and behold, no, it's the same problem. It's just kind of all over the place. And that's going to be because it's sucking a bunch of air in the header. But it's not a big deal. Let's just take it out for a quick rip and yeah, take it out for a rip and see if anything does change. But yeah, it didn't. Yeah, just get her home, and then that's that for this video, for that part of the video. Now we're going out for another drive, and as you can see, the video format changed. I guess at some point in time when I was, changing the battery on the GoPro or pulling the SD card out, I accidentally hit some of the options, and it changed the field of view on the GoPro. So not a whole lot I can do about that for the next bit of the videos. I have since fixed that, so it should be full size again. But yeah, we're just out for a rip and just driving. This is kind of why there's not a lot of video, is while the car is together and on the road, I'm not ripping it apart. I'm not doing anything unless, something breaks. It's just quite fun driving it. And, since I'm not really doing anything, I don't think I'm going to do too much more videoing like this where I'm doing voiceovers. Like, if anything, I'd want to be in the car talking or something. But I don't even know. Like, am I really that interesting? I don't think so. So this time when I got back from my cruise, my mother-in-law was actually waiting outside for me, and she wanted to take a look at the car. So I'm just going to pull it into the shop, turn the lights on in the garage, and then she wants to come take a look at it and, you know, check it out. And she really enjoys looking at it, which is awesome. And, you know, she can appreciate all the work that I did. She doesn't understand it, but she can appreciate the amount of work that's gone into it. And then, you know, we go up to the front of the car here in a few seconds. She's like, oh, can I see under here? So, you know, I show her how to operate the hood pins and, you know, let her operate the hood pins on her own. And she opens it, and then, you know, just kind of show her, and then, you know, show her how to close it and how to lock the hood pins. And that's pretty awesome. Now I am just heading over to a friend's place. So I'm gonna, on my way there, just stop for gas, as is this car's favorite place. But mind you, I haven't filled up the fuel cell fully yet for a few reasons. So I'm just gonna stop, throw some gas in, and then I'm going to drive over to my buddies. So you'll get to see a bit of a nice drive in the Vancouver Island country. We really do live in paradise here. So yeah, enjoy this nice little trip through paradise. Yeah, so when I got to my buddy's place, I forgot to turn the GoPro off. So while I was there, it was just running, filled up or killed the battery. So I didn't get any video of the drive back. I mean, it's just the same thing as what I just showed. But now we are back in the shop. And what I am doing is I'm pulling off the belt for the procharger. Now, the reason being is the tensioner is really close to the water pump, and it's actually quite a bit of work to get it on and off. So I have already ordered a new belt, which I should be picking up. I think this is a Sunday at this point in time, but I should be picking up the belt the next day. So I felt pretty confident pulling the belt off now, knowing I don't need to drive this car anywhere. So now that I got the belt off, it's also hard to hear the engine with the procharger because it's so loud. So I'm going to fire up the car and just kind of give it a listen and see if there is anything going on with the engine. Anything, obviously noticeable. With that, it sounded fine, so I'm just going to throw some wiper blades on this car. It's one thing that's kind of bugged me for a while is that, I was kind of scared of any bit of little precipitation because I didn't have wipers on the car. And, if I'm going to be driving in the rain, which it could be sketchy enough, with the tires and the power, as long as you're not being too stupid with it, it should be fine. But, I don't want to get caught out in the rain. This is Vancouver Island. It does rain a lot. So throw some wipers on there, and then the next thing that I got is a automotive stethoscope. So as I said, there was a loud ticking, and I've since found that it is the exhaust. But what I want to do is fire up the car, and then with the stethoscope, jump under the car, listen to the oil pan, and just see if it's making any noise, because that'll tell me for sure if the ticking is like a bearing. And then I listen to the valve covers to see if there's any noise in there. And let me tell you, this thing sounded buttery smooth. There was not a single noise out of place when I was listening to it, so I'm so happy and thankful about that. So it is the next day from when I took the procharger belt off, and I have some new procharger belts. So I'm going to try and install the belt that was 1 inch longer, and right out of the gate, this thing is just way too long. So a 1 inch longer belt is not what I need. It's kind of useless. So I end up putting the old one back on. It really sucks that the new one was just way too long and will not work, because they aren't cheap for 12 ribs, but it's a lesson you learn. An expensive one, but it is a lesson nonetheless. All right, folks, with getting that procharger belt back on and everything all buttoned up, that is all the time we have for this one. So as always, if you've stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.